First time. Okay. Next. Your name, Ruji? Tanmay. Thank you. Also, we welcome Ruji by chanting 3 times Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Reading from Bhagavad-Gītā as it is, chapter 18, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation, text 49, 18th chapter, text number 49. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra. Asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra. Jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ. Jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ. naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ. naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramām. sannyāsenādhigacchati. sannyāsenādhigacchati. asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra. asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra. jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ. jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ. naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ. naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramām. sannyāsenādhigacchati. sannyāsenādhigacchati. asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra. asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra. jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ. jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ. naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ. naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramām. sannyāsenādhigacchati. sannyāsenādhigacchati.
asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra.
asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra.
jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ.
jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ.
naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ.
naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ.
sannyāsenādhigacchati.
sannyāsenādhigacchati.
asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra.
asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra.
jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ.
jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ.
naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ.
naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ.
sannyāsenādhigacchati.
sannyāsenādhigacchati. asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra.
jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ.
jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ.
naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ.
naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ.
sannyāsenādhigacchati.
sannyāsenādhigacchati. asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra. jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ. naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ. sannyāsenādhigacchati.
Somebody wants to say?
asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra.
asakta-buddhiḥ sarvatra.
jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ.
jita-ātmā vigata-spṛhaḥ.
naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ.
naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ paramāṁ.
sannyāsenādhigacchati.
sannyāsenādhigacchati.
Very good reading. Asakta-buddhiḥ.
asakta-buddhiḥ.
Having unattached intelligence. Sarvatra.
sarvatra.
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Jita-ātmā.
jita-ātmā.
Having control of the mind.
having control of the mind.
vigata-spṛhaḥ.
vigata-spṛhaḥ.
Without material desires.
without material desires.
naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ.
naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ.
The perfection of non-reaction.
perfection of non-reaction.
paramāṁ,
paramām,
supreme,
supreme,
sannyāsena,
sannyāsena,
by the renounced order of life,
by the renounced order of life,
adhigacchati,
adhigacchati,
one attains.
attains.
Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhu.
Jai.
Translation: one who is self-controlled and unattached and who disregards all material enjoyments can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect state of freedom from reaction. But real renunciation means that one should always think himself part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and therefore think that he has no right to enjoy the results of his work. Since he is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, the results of his work must be enjoyed by the Supreme Lord. This is actually Kṛṣṇa consciousness. The person acting in Kṛṣṇa consciousness is really a sannyāsī, one in the renounced order of life. By such a mentality, one is satisfied because he is actually acting for the Supreme. Thus, he is not attached to anything material. He becomes accustomed to not taking pleasure in anything beyond the transcendental happiness derived from the service of the Lord. The sannyāsī is supposed to be free from the reactions of his past activities, but a person who is in Kṛṣṇa consciousness automatically attains this perfection without even accepting the so-called order of renunciation. This state of mind is called yoga rūಢa, or the perfection state of yoga. As confirmed in the 3rd chapter, ātma-ratir one who is satisfied in himself has no fear of any kind of reaction from his activity. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurmilitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Guru Dadati Sarvatra. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapadalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jadam Sadhanam Tattam Sajivam Sadhvetam Sadhutam Sajitam Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Shri Radha Kṛṣṇa Mala Sankara Shaktam Saranam. Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Mudare Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nidinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prajayane Nirvishekha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Yudhaya Shivasadi Gauravani Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Manchakal requested because of the Vigata-spṛhaḥ Power Vaishnava. So we are discussing from Bhagavad-Gītā as it is final chapter, 18th chapter, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. So in order to get a connection to this 49th sloka of 18th chapter, we will just read the translation of the previous sloka 48. So we get a context of this particular sloka. So text 48 is Sahajam karma kaunteya sadosham abhidam prajet sarvārambha hi doshena gume nir vāvataha. So here Kṛṣṇa is saying every endeavor is covered by some thought, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work of his nature or son of Kunti, even if such work is full of thought. So this previous sloka is one of the most important slokas for all of us, because sometimes when we work in material world, we feel that actually if my condition is something different, then I can perform much more in my material life and spiritual life. Sometimes we think like that actually, because I'm working as according to one's nature, one has to work. That's what Kṛṣṇa tells in Bhagavad-Gītā. So sometimes we feel that actually if I get some other job or in some other company, then I could have performed much more, I could have earned more, or I could have spiritually also advanced more like that. Sometimes we may think according to our mind. But what Kṛṣṇa tells in this sloka is that actually, in this 40th sloka, we just recap it for some 5-10 minutes so that we get continuation for today's sloka. So every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke actually. So every endeavor there is some kind of fault is there. Whatever work which we do, we cannot tell that any work is without any violence or without any fault. Whatever work which we do has some kind of fault is there. Because material world means it is full of contamination. So whatever work which we do, it will be automatically it is contaminated. Whatever work which we do, maybe it is about goodness or passion or ignorance. Comparatively, goodness will be much better, but everything has got some reactions. So here actually Prabhu has given nice examples actually, like to understand this sloka. So it's very important that actually we should understand every sloka of Bhagavad-Gītā in light of Srila Prabhupāda's purport. Otherwise we will misunderstand this sloka. Because generally if we read only the translation of Bhagavad-Gītā, then we won't get the practical application of Bhagavad-Gītā. Many people will get confused actually what Kṛṣṇa wants to tell. But when we read this purport, actually Bhagavad-Gītā's purport, which Srila Prabhupada gives according to the time, place and circumstances of each living one of us. So when we read this purport and then we just reflect on this sloka, then we come to know how we can apply this sloka in our own daily life. So that's why this Bhagavad-Gītā as it is very important. So we have many editions of Bhagavad-Gītā available in the market actually. But how we can know which Bhagavad-Gītā is actually the true one? So generally Shastras say phalena parisiyate. What it means is that actually phalena parisiyate. Actually the result is measured by how the fruits are being brought. Actually, like if we cultivate one good mango tree, how we judge that mango tree is good when it produces nice mangoes. Similarly, how many people has become devotees of Kṛṣṇa by reading Bhagavad-Gītā? If we judge, then we can understand that by reading this Bhagavad-Gītā as it is, not only in India but around the world, many people have become devotees of Kṛṣṇa. So in that way we can understand that. So by reading this Bhagavad-Gītā itself actually, if one sincerely reads this Bhagavad-Gītā and applies these teachings in his own life, then he can become a perfect devotee of Kṛṣṇa. Srila Prabhupada stresses that actually Prabhupada has given plenty of books, but he tells we have Srimad Bhagavatam, which is like postgraduate degree of Bhagavad-Gītā, and then we have sannyāsenādhigacchati, which is like PhD. So Srila Prabhupada tells us one thing only: if one can understand this Bhagavad-Gītā very nicely, he can study it very nicely, then he can perfect his own life. Recently I was reading Srila Prabhupada Leela written by his scholars Satsavada's Goswami Maharaj. So in one, when Srila Prabhupada was in Los Angeles actually, at that time he was telling that actually everyone should not only just distribute Bhagavad-Gītā but also should read and study Bhagavad-Gītā also. So he's telling that one should study Bhagavad-Gītā and then they should appear for exams, as we call them as Bhakti Shastris. So Srila Prabhupada used to tell that we should study Bhagavad-Gītā and write that examination we should pass. And we should become the masters of Bhagavad-Gītā. Not just for just showing that I am a degree, I have got degree Bhagavad-Gītā, but to preach actually. So that even people have made confusion about Bhagavad-Gītā. So one who studies his Bhagavad-Gītā in such a way, he can go and preach, and he can defeat others of different philosophy that like about Mayavada or Marxism like that, and they can convert them to devotees. So that is the whole purpose of this Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement actually. So movement is what actually we have to move. Movement is actually each one has to push another. So similarly, if we see generally Lord Kṛṣṇa is giving this message to Guru Parambara like Brahma, and through that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appear. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is pushing his successors like his Goswamis. So Goswamis are pushing the other successors of the Guru Parambara. Like that Srila Prabhupada is Srila Prabhupada has pushed his disciples and his disciples are pushing us, and we should have also push others so that actually everyone can get this knowledge of Bhagavad-Gītā.
So without preaching, no one can get this knowledge actually, if you see. If you can just recollect one thing, Srila Prabhupada was in Radha Damodar temple after he took sannyas in Vrindavan. How many of you have visited Radha Damodar temple? You have Radha Damodar temple. Many of you have visited Radha Damodar temple. So we have 7 temples of Goswamis in Vrindavan. So in Radha Damodar temple only, like Srila Prabhupada, he has a very small room. You might have visited it actually. So Prabhupada sits in that room and he meditates on the samadhi of Rupa Goswami. And just meditating on his spiritual master, and this Goswamis used to write the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto commentaries actually. So we can see that actually Srila Prabhupada has thought that let me take sannyas and let me remain in the Radha Damodar temple. Anyway, if I remain in Radha Damodar temple, many people will come and they will ask some questions. I can just explain them and I get prasad plate from the temple because the pujaris will give the prasad to him. So if he has thought that actually let me remain in my own comfort zone and let me remain there, then he could not have come to the Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement actually. Because Srila Prabhupada has taken so much of sacrifice, that's why we are being here. So we should be always eternally indebted and grateful to Srila Prabhupada for giving us this immense wealth of teaching of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Not only to Srila Prabhupada, to all devotees who are some way or other helped us to get connected with Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So in that way, coming to today's slogan, so we can see that actually. So Bhagavad-Gītā gives the perfect knowledge for everyone, how to act actually. Poor maybe one is a like man or woman or child or old man, or maybe an American or Indian, whatever he may be. So it is because Bhagavad-Gītā gives the teachings based on soul, not on our bodies actually. So everyone is a soul. As we understand from Bhagavad-Gītā teaching, we are not these bodies, we are the spirit souls. So what is the beauty of what each spirit soul is explained in Bhagavad-Gītā? So we have went through many yogas and everything through previous chapters, and we have come to the conclusion of this Bhagavad-Gītā now. So in this chapter, if you see, so whatever teachings Kṛṣṇa has spoken to Arjuna, again Arjuna has some confusion regarding renunciation. So he is putting up some questions and Kṛṣṇa is answering all these questions. So in this way, so here it is mentioned, every endeavor is covered by some thought. So whatever endeavor which we do, there will be some fault. If you think that actually if fault will happen, then I won't work, then there is no point. There is no point in our living, in our life actually. Because whatever we do, there will be fault. If I think that actually outside it rains, so I want to go outside, then there is no point in our thinking, no? Like, then we won't be able to go outside. So if rain happens, what we should do? We take an umbrella and we have to go outside. Similarly, here also it is mentioned, even if our activities, even if our endeavors are have some fault, then also we should carry out those duties in light of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So Prabhupada has given the example here. He is comparing it to just as fire is covered by some smoke. So if we are in winter places, generally we light the fire. You see, we go to some huge winter places. As Prabhu was there in Canada for last 2 years, so you'll be knowing the intensity of the winter. So what we will do actually to light the fire, initially what will happen? Some smoke will happen. So if you think that actually the smoke disturbs me, so I should not light the fire, what will happen? Then I have to suffer the coldness actually. But if we cross over that first thing, if I just light the fire and if we lit the fire, then automatically what will happen? That fire will give us the warmth. Similarly, whenever we do some activities, always there will be some fault, or sometimes our mind will tell, if you do it like this, it won't be beneficial for you, or won't be able to do it perfectly. So because of that, we procrastinate some things in our life. So because of that, what will happen? Then we will be the loser. We won't be able to go to the actual brain of the one. Similarly, here it is mentioned. Prabhupada is giving some examples here to understand us. So if one is thinking, like one is a businessman, we'll understand this with 2 examples. So one has different natures, like somebody is a Brahmana, somebody is a Kshatriya, somebody is a Vaishya, somebody is a Shudra. Like that classification is there according to Vedic
system. It is not based on caste actually, it is based on our activities. So based on activities only we can understand who is a Kshatriya, who is a Brahmana, who is a Vaishya, who is a Shudra. It is not based on any caste. Sometimes people may think that actually it is based on caste because of which many things has happened in the recent days, recent times actually. So it is based on the gunas actually, what the gunas one has acquired. So if somebody, he has a Vaishya nature means he is an expert in business. He knows how to make profit and everything. But he thinks that actually if I do the business, then I have to get profit from others. Sometimes I have to cheat somebody else like that. So in that way he thinks that let me not do my activity of this business thing, and let me do the Brahmana work. If he thinks like that, then what will happen is that actually his nature is not Vaishya. Business nature is the mind nature. So instead of doing that Vaishya work, he is going to another occupation. That is Brahmana work. Brahmana means he should be like what? He should be very peaceful. He should have that knowledge. He should have that nature of each others. Like the paramāṁ, that's not actually like the activity of Brahmana. It means paramāṁ means actually he should study and he should teach others also without expecting any remuneration. So he can beg, and whatever he receives he can accept. And Dāna-pradikara. So whatever he gets excess, he should distribute others also. That's what Brahma's qualities which Bhagavad-Gītā explains. So, but what will happen is that actually the nature of that person is Vaishya nature, but he acts as a Brahmana now. He goes for a Brahmana occupation. So when he goes for Brahmana occupation, the first thing is that actually Brahmana means actually he should be in mode of goodness. That he actually in mode of goodness means actually he expects something good for others. That welfare thing should be happen. That welfare consciousness should be done in his mind actually. But what happens is that this person is thinking that if I do business, then if I get some profit, I am cheating somebody. Then again, if he does the Brahmana kind of occupation, because he doesn't have that knowledge nature to teach others, he doesn't have that patient nature in his mind. So whenever he goes to that teaching field also, he expects something other than that Brahmana's occupation. What will happen is that actually he'll think that okay, let me teach something else. That because you don't have that learning nature, then you do something else other than his occupation. And finally, what will happen is that actually he's just doing an imitation of the other's job. Then ultimately, what will happen is that actually that won't help him in his nature actually. Similarly, if we can take another aspect also. If somebody is a Brahmana, but he thinks that actually in Brahmana means I just have to do teaching and everything. So my standard of living is always same. But if I do some business, then I get more profit. So let me do some business. Like that he goes for the Vaishya kind of thing. But what will happen is that actually ultimately he goes for that business thing, and ultimately what will happen? He will be easily cheated because you don't have that nature. So in this way, so one should always do his duties, even if faults are there, even if he is not perfect on his nature's duty, but he should continue the duty. And continuing the duty means not that I should perfect my duty, but keeping Kṛṣṇa in the center, one should carry out his duties. So gradually when he carries out his duties with Kṛṣṇa consciousness as his center, then ultimately his whatever duty is doing, it will reach perfection. So even if somebody else is not a perfect Brahmana, but he has Brahmanical nature. But if he don't take that Brahmanical nature in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, then he can, what will happen? He can actually, ultimately he can become Kṛṣṇa God's devotee and he can total that nature. So for an example, if somebody is having a Brahmanical nature, yes. So what he can do, he can just study Shastras and he can preach to others. Then he can do, when he is further qualified, what he can do more intimate services like he can do deity worship and cooking for the Lord and all these things he can do. So he can dominate the nature in Kṛṣṇa service, ultimately he can perfect his life. Similarly, somebody is a Vaishya. So he has this Vaishya nature. What he can do? He can do his business nicely and he can get the profits and he can use it in preaching activities, in serving the preaching mission, building some temples and everything. So Bhagavad-Gītā, if you see, It's very practical. So whatever nature one has, he can locate his nature in Krishna's service and he can perfect his life. That's what Bhagavad-Gītā tells. Bhagavad-Gītā never tells that actually you just give up your nature and you go. You just give up everything and become a sannyāsī. Like that, Bhagavad-Gītā never tells actually. Whatever nature one has, whatever inclinations one has, he has to locate his service. Doctrine means actually we have to engage that nature in Krishna's service actually. So in that way one does then, even if that work is full of fault, but gradually one engages his nature in Krishna's service, he can perfect his duty. That's what Kṛṣṇa tells in this sloka actually. In the next sloka, if we see, here it is telling, one who is self-controlled and unattached and who disregards all material enjoyments can obtain the practice of renunciation, the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. So first thing here Kṛṣṇa is telling after this sloka, one who is self-controlled. So first thing one should have is self-control. Kṛṣṇa is saying. Self-control means what actually? Whatever my mind tells I should not do, whatever my intelligence tells I should do. That's what self-control. Like in a short way we can understand. Mind always tells whatever it needs. You don't think about the results actually, what will happen to us. But intelligence always thinks about what will happen to me after if we do something like that. So in that way, one should be self-controlled. So how we can develop that intelligence? By reading Shastras actually. Because our intelligence is dull, that's why we always fall prey to the mind actually. But when we read Shastras only we can know what is my real duty. That way my intelligence will be sharpened and I can do the real duty. And next thing is unattached actually. Unattached means actually like whenever we perform some duty, we should not be attached to the results. That's what Bhagavad-Gītā tells actually. Bhagavad-Gītā never tells like that. You should not perform a duty. Never tells like that Bhagavad-Gītā. Sometimes some people misinterpret that Bhagavad-Gītā is like that. You just give everything and you just become a sannyāsī or monk like that. Some people interpret Bhagavad-Gītā in a very wrong manner. But just if you think, what happened to Arjuna after hearing Bhagavad-Gītā? What he did? He became a mendicant of sannyāsī or he fought like a Kshatriya warrior? He fought like a warrior. So he did his duty actually. So Bhagavad-Gītā always helps us to do our duty perfectly, not to escape from our duties. Sometimes people think that actually Bhagavad-Gītā means just you need to escape from duty. So somebody who doesn't have, somebody who's very afraid of this material things, he runs after this Bhagavad-Gītā teachings and becomes a brahmachari or somebody like sannyāsī. No, not like that actually. So one who has really understood this philosophy, he can only stay as a brahmachari or sannyāsī. If our renunciation is like a monkey renunciation. Monkey renunciation means actually like Markada Vairagya. Monkey renunciation means actually like somebody may think that oh, monkey is a renunciant because he doesn't wear any dresses actually. He always gives up all his dresses and he runs around. But actually what is the thinking in his mind actually? He's always thinking of opposite sex or how to get something to eat. So one should not become a monkey, Markada Vairagya, like monkey renunciation. Really, if somebody is renunciant in that path, then he will be attached to the duty. No, if somebody is a brahmachari, it's actually he's really to the brahmachari means he'll stay in the ashram for many years. Or somebody is a sannyāsī means he'll stay in the ashram for many years like that. It's not that if somebody suddenly becomes, some light comes in his mind and becomes a brahmachari like that. So, based on the teachings and based on his nature only, he becomes a brahmachari or a grihastha or sannyāsī or vanaprastha like that. So even Srila Prabhupada also tells one more thing, that one's perfection is not based on one's ashram, but it is based on his consciousness. It's not like that one becomes a sannyāsī, his journey to Kṛṣṇa consciousness, his journey to back to God is 100% guaranteed like that. Ultimately everything depends on the consciousness. How much we are thinking about Kṛṣṇa, how much we are acting on Kṛṣṇa consciousness, that is the measurement or barometer of which our going on back to what it is measured actually. So even if somebody is in a trust of grihastha, if his consciousness is always of thinking of how to please Kṛṣṇa consciousness, how to please Kṛṣṇa, how to do my material jobs in such a way that I can please Kṛṣṇa, then he is like a sannyāsī. That's what Srila Prabhupada tells actually. So everything is based on our consciousness. It's not based on like I wear dhoti kurta, Kandimanatana means I'm Krishna conscious devotee. Not like that actually. It depends on our consciousness. Only Krishna and myself or Guru knows actually what I am thinking. One can sit here and he can preach like anything, but ultimately it depends on how he acts actually. So recently I just heard a small lecture in one of the YouTube actually. So a preacher is not by not his talks but by his acts. It is like a preacher is not by his mere talks but by his acts actually. So somebody was sitting in somebody was giving a lecture. So he was telling that actually buying a brinjal. So brinjal is not very good for health and everything like that. He's giving so many negative effects of brinjal in the lecture. And after that actually then he went to his home and he invited all these people to his home. So his wife was also hearing the same lecture. So he was telling many wrong things about brinjal. So she made some like baigan bharta, like something like some sabji, like brinjal fry she prepared. And he was serving to everyone. So he was sitting, so wife didn't serve to him and he was serving to all others. So he thought, hey, why you are not serving to me? I am your husband, you should serve me. So he immediately told that actually, like, you only told that actually brinjal is not good to the health. So that's why I didn't serve you. So he told, no, that I told in class, that is something else. But here in practical life you can serve. So like that he told. But what happens is that actually, so one thing is that actually whatever we preach, we should try to follow it actually. It's not possible for us to like completely follow, but whatever possible, at least we should try to follow it. Not like that actually I can preach anything and I can act anything like that actually. So in that way, here is we can see that actually. So one should be unattached to the results. So whatever, so for an example, so we book a ticket from here to some place, to America. Then we sit on the flight. After sitting in the flight, whether we can tell them that, can you take me back to Vraja? Like we can ask them. No, it's not possible. So once we do the action, then results is not in our hand action. Results may be that I reach America and then I do face that consciousness. So we should do the result, we should perform the activities, results Kṛṣṇa will give actually. Because of that, if the results will become negative, so that I should not act, that is like a cowardice actually. That should not be the attitude. Whatever it may be, I should do my duty and results is in the hand of Kṛṣṇa. So in that way, we should be unattached to the duties which we do actually. So that is what here unattached means actually. Attachment means not that actually I should not be attached to anything, to my family, to my job, to my nation like that. It's not like that actually. Means what it means is like that actually unattached to the results actually. I should do my duty perfectly, but the results Kṛṣṇa will give. So like that actually. We cannot tell that actually, like it should happen like that. Sometimes some match will happen, some academic is happening. So we should not feel that actually I should see the match only. I'm just giving a good example. We cannot relate to that. Somebody is a fan of some particular team. So he's thinking that actually I won't view the cricket match until unless the team wins. So how we know team wins? Only if you see the match, then only you can know that his team wins. So otherwise you can just scroll in Google and get the results also nowadays. So but until unless you do the duty, then only you can get the results actually. So we should perform the duty, but we should be unattached to the results. That's what Kṛṣṇa does. That's what here it is mentioned as unattached. And who disregards all material enjoyments can. So next is disregards all material enjoyments. So he's telling to disregard all material enjoyments. So it's very difficult for us to give up the material enjoyments generally, because our tendency is to we want enjoyment actually. Because jiva means anandamaya pesa actually. We have that tendency for the enjoyment. The problem is that actually the way we try to get the enjoyment is actually it is in a wrong manner actually. So here Kṛṣṇa clearly tells that actually we are part and parcel of Kṛṣṇa. So we cannot get real enjoyment by forgetting Kṛṣṇa. So whatever material enjoyment we are trying to enjoy is by forgetting Kṛṣṇa. Like for example, you can see that if somebody wants to enjoy, so if he tries to enjoy something by forgetting Kṛṣṇa, that enjoyment won't stay for a long time. For example, if somebody goes to a cinema, so we just go to the cinema and we just see the film and we just like wait for the climax and climax happens. After that, we think that no, everything is over. That enjoyment is gone. Or I don't know how much is the rate of the current cinema tickets, maybe 200 or 500. Like that money is gone actually. After that climax is over. But the same way, but Kṛṣṇa consciousness means actually we have the climax, what end actually. What happens is that actually, then how many kirtans we attend, how many classes we hear, how much prasadam we eat. Still also that desire to hear, desire to like do the kirtans, desire to attend the classes, it will increase only. We won't feel that actually it's getting ended. We get unlimited enjoyment. Yeah. So in that way, so we should understand theoretically at least that actually whenever I try to enjoy separately from Kṛṣṇa, my enjoyment won't stay for a long time. It will be ultimately that enjoyment will go to distress only. Whatever kind of enjoyment we try to enjoy. But at the same time, let me sacrifice something for the time being and let me give some happiness to Kṛṣṇa. When I give my happiness to Kṛṣṇa, then ultimately I will also get my enjoyment. We can take a simple example sometimes. So we are going outside and we are eating. So when we eat, we will get some happiness. Okay, some happiness we will get. But at the same time, somebody is coming over here. Then we are offering the food to Kṛṣṇa. So whatever food is offered to Kṛṣṇa, that is like Kṛṣṇa prasadam, which is not, which doesn't have any sinful proclamations in that actually. So somebody comes here. Then after that he comes and after that he serves the prasadam to everyone. After that he eats. The happiness which he feels by going outside and eating that food, the happiness which he feels by serving everyone and eating the prasadam will be, which happiness will be more actually. It's the second one actually. Because one thing is that actually we are serving Kṛṣṇa prasadam to everyone. And Kṛṣṇa prasadam nourishes not only my body, nourishes my soul also. And we are doing something selflessly to others after that I am eating. So that way I get more happiness compared to anything outside. Outside when we go and eat some food means it's like some material enjoyment to my body only. But whenever we eat some Kṛṣṇa prasadam over here, it nourishes my body, my intellect, my mind and ultimately the soul also. So in that way we can understand whatever enjoyment which I try to get by forgetting Kṛṣṇa, that enjoyment little bit it will be there for us, but that enjoyment won't stay for a long time. But so we can choose. If I need some enjoyment now, but that enjoyment won't stay for a long time, or at least I sacrifice something for some time and I get unlimited enjoyment. So we can choose which one we need. You don't go for the second one only. We need some enjoyment unlimited. So Kṛṣṇa is also telling the same thing only. You just serve me. By serving Kṛṣṇa, automatically Kṛṣṇa will get enjoyment and we will also get enjoyment. That's what actually Kṛṣṇa tells over here. We can take one more small example over here. Okay, somebody comes to our home. Some senior devotee, somebody comes to our home. We are inviting. So when we invite him to our home, we know his diet actually, what he likes. So when he comes to the home, I also have my desire that I like some rasgulla, or I like some other kind of rabdi, or some other many other items we can tell. It's like paratha or some same tomato or something, paneer sabji or something like that actually. And but at the same time somebody else is coming. So I have the choice. I can cook according to my desire, or I can cook according to the desire of that guest actually. So what I will do actually, I will cook according to the desire of the guest actually. If I know the diet plan of his that guest actually. So even if initially I will feel that I have to cook something and I will eat, but I am cooking for him. But ultimately when I cook and offer to Kṛṣṇa and I serve him and after that I eat, I will enjoy more happiness than eating something which I like to eat. We have that experience sometimes. Like when we feed others, then we won't feel to eat. Like we have Prabhu always feeds us like anything. Prabhu takes very less, but he needs to feed all of us with more prasadam sometimes. Whenever he serves prasadam, so like that actually. So in that way, so if we think logically also, we can understand that actually when we understand what is Kṛṣṇa's happiness and when we act according to his desires, then our happiness will be also fulfilled actually. That way we can understand in such a way. So that's what it is mentioned. Who disregards all material enjoyments can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect state of freedom from reaction. So in this way, if somebody acts, then he can, by practice of renunciation, please make. So here also Prabhupada tells that renunciation doesn't mean that actually one has to give up his duty and become a sannyāsī. What he is telling is that actually he has to dominate his nature in Kṛṣṇa's service. So when we engage our services, if somebody is a software engineer, somebody maybe somebody is a scientist, whatever it may be, he can do his duties such nicely in such a way that we can inspire the people in two ways actually. Once we do the duties very nicely, then automatically they will think that he is doing the duties nicely. So ultimately, if somebody is a devotee, he will think that it's by Kṛṣṇa's mercy. Definitely, we pass the blame to Kṛṣṇa. So automatically, what will happen is we are inspiring somebody else to become a Kṛṣṇa devotee also. And when he does his duties very nicely, automatically he will get promotion and everything, and he will get nice results. Means that Lakshmi he will get. When he gets the Lakshmi, if he engages the Lakshmi in Kṛṣṇa's service, automatically Kṛṣṇa will be also satisfied. In such a way also we can inspire everyone. So even Shastra says, Kena Kena Prakarena Mana Kṛṣṇa Niveshye. So the ultimate intention of Kṛṣṇa consciousness is that you should preach only in this way, or you should do the way only this way. It's not like that. Somehow or other we want to inspire people to take up to Kṛṣṇa consciousness. That's not actually Kṛṣṇa's ultimate. So we have our colleagues and somebody else. So we can preach him in such a way that actually his love to Kṛṣṇa will increase actually. In such a way. We should not preach in such a way that he will become ultimately a non-devotee of Kṛṣṇa. So whenever we have colleagues in something, we should feel that somebody likes Kṛṣṇa. So we should feel him with some Kṛṣṇa. In such a way he can become Kṛṣṇa's devotee. Or somebody likes a philosophy. Then we can give some philosophy books like Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers, like that, Science of Civilization. In such a way we can actually engage everyone in Kṛṣṇa's service. So we have to know how to engage somebody else in, we can appreciate someone else in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. In such a way. So in that way one can become like a perfect preacher also. In such a way. So in that way, so here it is like when we act according to this way, we can become, get freedom from the reaction, and we can reach the perfect stage of renunciation. So this is what actually this sloka meant actually. I don't know whether I went through many other ways. So I think you could get some message from this sloka. If anyone has some doubts, they can ask. On nature, so that he can perform his duty nicely. So it's a nice question. So here, so one way is that actually like it's very difficult for us to find out our own nature sometimes. So we can take help of senior devotees, because senior devotees can understand one's nature very nicely. In which way he can please Kṛṣṇa nicely, in which way he can do his services nicely. So one way is actually we can take shelter from a perfect spiritual master. We can ask actually in which way I can please Lord Kṛṣṇa in my services. So spiritual master being expert, he can know our nature actually, in which way one can perform his duty. So spiritual master can give the guidance to us in one way. And the ways actually our local authorities, like temple authorities, like we have Sushantu and everything like that. So we can ask them also in what nature I can do my duties nicely. So this is one of the ways which we can perfect our duties in that. So is it okay with the answer?
Yes. Okay.
Asking about the material perspective also.
Yeah, generally material perspective also not taken.
Okay. Material perspective means actually the one sad thing about nowadays is that actually everyone wants to do this job with love, but somehow we love the job which pays so much sometimes. Some other way we can see, because we are not like whatever we study here doesn't have a relation with whatever we study and we does the job. Ultimately, nowadays we don't have that training happening, like practical training happening in these days of one has the intention after our studies. Ultimately, one will go wherever have more vacancies or where one will get more paid off actually. So that's why we cannot judge the material duties nicely, which are I like or not actually. So it's very different. But only thing is that actually whatever, so Kṛṣṇa has given some duty to us. So we can dovetail that result of that duty to Kṛṣṇa. So ultimately that duty can also become devotee service. Thank you.
Like you said, no, the Brahman used to preach, nature is preach. But today's world, is it possible? Brahman only preach, not to his material duty.
Okay.
I think it's not.
Okay. So okay. Brahman's nature is to preach. So preaching whether he can sustain his life actually. So what Srila Prabhupada tells is that actually like as for Vedic civilization, years before like Brahmas were strictly following those principles. But nowadays it's not possible in such a way because the system which we have is not according to Varnashram Dharma. So once this Varnashram Dharma is established, then we can act according to that principle. Because if Brahmana is preaching nicely, then automatically what will do? The Kshatriyas will maintain the Brahmanas. Because the Kshatriyas will hear whatever Brahmanas wills. And whatever Brahmanas wills is as per scriptures. So automatically Brahmanas maintenance will be taken care. But nowadays it's not possible because the government is not actually acting according to the Brahmanical instructions. So what we can do is that actually, so even we have Brahmanic initiation systems happening in Kṛṣṇa consciousness also. But what we do is that actually, it's not that actually we should not work outside. Generally what we tell is that we can take up, if possible, we can take a simple living and hygienic jobs. Simple living means actually, we can take up some teaching jobs. We can see in many of the voices, as you know, many of the students after they pass out after engineering, they don't want to go to any engineering jobs. What they do is that actually they will go to some institutes like Alan or something brilliant like that. So many coaching institutes, and they will go over there and they will do the teaching job. So they will get more time for Kṛṣṇa consciousness. At the same time, teaching is the best way to preach Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So they will preach to others also. So in that way, they can take up some jobs which are convenient for them. So in that way, even if somebody is working in some other job other than this teaching job also, if once consciousness is purified, then he can be a Brahman. Because it's not practically possible, as we told, discuss like Brahmana could have a Gurukul and he just sits in the Gurukul and only teaches like that. It's not possible as of now. But it can be established only if we have some Varnashram Dharma being established actually. So we have that kind of systems in ISKCON. We have this Gurukul system, Smartphone system. If somebody has a nature like that actually, I don't want to go outside and work. Let me do something only to fully engage myself in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, then he can go to that Gurukul community, Smartphone where he can be a Gurukul teacher and he can be completely engaged also. But it depends on one's nature. If it's not possible, then he can be a normal devotee and we can see many devotees who are like Brahmanas or other, but they are doing other jobs also, like maybe some software engineer, maybe other jobs. But ultimately it depends on his consciousness. It's not that only his acts matters, but how much he's dovetailing his thoughts, minds and activities in Kṛṣṇa service. Is the answer clear? Thank you. Becomes pleased, then we also become happy. How we can know that Kṛṣṇa is become pleased? It's a nice question for you. So the easiest way for us is we don't have the purity to directly please Kṛṣṇa if we see in such a way. So what we do, whenever we do something, we offer to Srila Prabhupada and offer to his Guru. Like that we have the system whenever we do anything. We doesn't directly try to please Kṛṣṇa. We always please Kṛṣṇa through his devotees, confidential representatives. So the easiest way for us to please Kṛṣṇa is by pleasing the authorities actually, temple authorities like that. Because they are the like servitors of Lord Krishna. So if you please the temple authorities, like or we have given us services, then we can please Krishna. And actually, in another way, if you can see, like if you can please the spiritual master, Krishna will please. So initially, as per your stage, Prabhu, you can till the moment you take initiation from spiritual master, you can please the temple authorities. Even if you take initiation from spiritual master also, you should please the temple authorities only. That's what spiritual master always tells. Because spiritual master will be somewhere else. He won't know what we are doing. But if you are pleasing the temple authorities, then Krishna, spiritual master will be pleased and Krishna will be also pleased. And we can also judge ourselves also. Whenever we do some services, like if we are getting more and more service opportunities, means Krishna is giving us more opportunities, means Krishna is getting these. So there are 2-3 ways, but the best way is to please the temple authorities, the naiṣkarmya-siddhiṁ. And Srila Prabhupada always tells actually like that. He always tells that actually always read my books and always do the services in a cooperative manner. That's what Prabhupada always tells actually. Whenever we have services, we should do in a cooperative manner. Not like that actually we should fight with each other and do my services next way, not like that. That's what makes ISKCON separate from all the institutions actually. Is it clear?
You said about duties of Brahmanas, duties of Vaishyas, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Now, what are the duties of Brahmanas? That is very, very clearly mentioned. The same is the case with Vaishyas too. My question is, how do a person know he is fit for what variety of duty, whether he is fit for Brahmana duty or he is fit for Vaishya duty? How he knows?
To know one's own nature. Yes. So, generally, like earlier times, we had the training system was there. Like Varnashram Dharma, like that, we had the training system, Gurukul was there. So ultimately, at the age of 25, like when somebody is sent to Gurukul, like if you see the Gurukul teacher, like the Brahman, that he knows the nature of each and every student once he passed out. So he will engage him nicely. But nowadays, we don't have that training system. So it's not possible for us to know whether I am a Vaishya, whether I am a Brahmana, like that. So the best way was Srila Prabhupada tells is that actually like we try to become a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Whatever the nature which may be. If we try to find out the nature, it's not possible for us actually. But whatever activities or whatever the expertise which I have, if I try to engage in Krishna service, that will be my profession. So let me try to become a pure devotee of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Because it is difficult for us to find the nature. Because to find the nature means somebody who is above the modes of nature, he can only find out nature actually. You see. So that should be a lot of training or if we want to understand my nature, then I should be with my spiritual master. I should spend more time with my spiritual master. Then he needs to judge my services and everything. Then only he can find out my nature. But practically it is not possible. If you see this Kalida. So what Srila Prabhupada tells is that actually whatever nature one may have, irrespective of his nature, if he tries to serve Lord Kṛṣṇa, then he can perfect his life. So in that way he can just chant 16 notes, follow everything. Automatically they are coming to the Brahmanical platform. He chants 16 notes and follow everything business. Then automatically when one becomes a Vaishnava, he is automatically a Brahmana. That's what Srila Prabhupada always says. So what I can say is that like our nature, our thinking should be how I should become a perfect devotee, pure devotee, like that we can see. Is it okay with the answer? Is it satisfied?
What I understood is that whatever is the expertise you have,
We have to.
in addition to that, you be Krishna conscious.
Yes.
So automatically, because you are Krishna conscious, the mercy of Krishna will bring you to the right path.
Right. Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Understanding that?
That's correct understanding. That's only the last sloka also tells that. For each sloka also tells that same thing. So even if we have fault, but if we engage in Krishna service, then ultimately we will perfect our lives. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can just ask me. Somebody wants to ask me. Is it audible? So we have a couple of announcements for this upcoming weeks. So as we know, this April 30th is Akshaya-Tritiya. You might have heard of Akshaya-Tritiya. Very auspicious day. So from Akshaya-Tritiya, continuous 21 days we have sannyāsena. So sannyāsena means actually generally, especially in North India, you can see it will be very hot. So what devotees will do? Devotees always like to please Krishna in some way or other. So it's being very hot. What we do, we keep an AC and sit at home. So we want to Lord Krishna. So what devotees will do is that actually they grind sandan with their own hand, with love and devotion. They will actually apply the sandan in Krishna's body. You might have seen, no, in many temples. If you go to North India, in each and every temple, they will do this sannyāsena. They apply sandan in the body of Lord to cool. It's not like that. It's actually like it's like you see, it's like a transcendental loving service between devotee and Lord Krishna. Somebody may think that Lord Krishna is the supreme. How will he keep? Like that, somebody may think. But always Krishna gives an opportunity for all devotees to serve him. Every day. So this is one of the auspicious signs. These devotees always grind something and they will apply that something to Lord's transcendental body actually. From April 30th, the 21 days, we see Gita and all these. Even ISKCON temples also, they will apply the sandan in Lord's body. That auspicious month is coming actually. This month is very auspicious. They call as month of Vaishak also. This month of this April, May. So generally, it's very auspicious to do spiritual activities. We can read more, or we can do more services, we can chant more, we can do some extra basic services also. So we request all devotees to take more kind of little auspicities for the worship of Lord Krishna this month. So on April 30th, this like the April 30th, we see it has many significances. We see if I think Google will get actually. This is the day when Bhagavad temple opens also, and we can see that Sudama met Lord Krishna this day. And we can see that Srila Prabhu also like he put the cornerstones on in many of the temple opening was made on this day of Akshaya-Tritiya. So generally people think that Akshaya-Tritiya is the best way to buy gold. So we, as a devotees, we should think that I can just increase my spiritual credits actually. So whatever things which we do on Akshaya-Tritiya, we can multiply. So we can chant more, read more, hear more. So of those days. And temple management has actually arranged a very nice program on the April 30th, that is upcoming Wednesday. So we have 5 to 7. There's a group chanting session happening in Kṛṣṇa temple in Vraja. So we request all devotees to come. Then after 7, we will be having a special lecture that is based on the dissection on the significance of Akshaya-Tritiya. After that, there will be Kṛṣṇa will be served. So we request all devotees to join in on April 30th evening. I think May 1st is also holiday. Government doesn't have holiday. Only Kerala has holiday. So we request all devotees to take up some kind of after the duty, we just join for some group chanting, and there will be a lecture. After that, there will be Kṛṣṇa will be served. And after that, after April 30th also, so every day there will be something. And then Sevā will be going on. And on mostly like May 10th, we are planning for a boat festival. As you know, that the month of summer, generally long trip goes outside for the boat festival. We see especially in North India. So every year we used to conduct boat festival. I think last year we didn't have, unfortunately. So this year also we are planning boat festival on May 10th. So mostly it will happen in the paramāṁ. We have a small boat in the paramāṁ center. So we will take Kṛṣṇa in a small boat, and the devotees will sing Kirtan for Kṛṣṇa. And Kṛṣṇa will move circles. And They offer some flowers and some prasad to Kṛṣṇa also. And after that, we will be having some satsang and prasad happening in the location. So we have not made that Saturday. So on that day, we won't be having the program here. We will have the program on the Bhagavad Center. All these things will come in the group, but I'm just giving a pre-notification so that you not get engaged in some other things. And May 11th is Narasimha Chaturdashi, okay, for Saturday. So we will have, that day we will have some Narasimha Yajna, and there will be Abhishek of Gita, and lecture, Arati and Kṛṣṇa will be there. So these are the upcoming festivals for this month. And also, we are planning for a Siksha ceremony on May 11th actually. So we request all devotees to be present on May 11th. So I think most of the devotees might have filled that Siksha form. So we request devotees to come on May 11th for the Siksha ceremony. How many of you will be available on May 11th? Prabhu ji, 11th. Prabhuji can come on there. Most of them will be like Mataji. Mataji will be also here. Because we are planning to conduct a Siksha ceremony on that day. So request all the devotees to be there for the upcoming program of all these three programs. So we hope to meet everyone on 30th evening. Please come. The best way to celebrate Akshaya is to stand more and hear more and read more. So we have the hours only there. Request all devotees to come to the program.